على آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وفقها في الدين يا رب العالمين وألحقنا بعبادك الصالحين. يقول الله عز وجل: يا بني آدم قد أنزلنا عليكم لباسا يواري سوآتكم وريشا ولباس التقوى ذلك خير ذلك من آيات الله لعلهم يذكرون. Inshallah, we continue with the chapter of clothing, and here inshallah majority of these ahadiths will be in regards to giving clothing as sadaqah to the poor. Before we go on to this chapter inshallah, there's one hadith left here. وعن أبي يعفور قال سمعت ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما يسأله رجل ما ألبس من الثياب قال ما لا يزدريك فيه السفهاء ولا يعيبك به الحكماء قال ما هو قال بين الخمسة دراهم إلى 20 درهما رواه الطبراني ورجاله رجال الصحيح. Here one of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, I heard Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu ask, يسأله رجل. I heard Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu being asked by a man that what type of clothing shall I wear? Are you recording? Yeah. ما ألبس من الثياب. What type of clothing shall I wear? He said, ما لا يزدريك به السفهاء. That type of clothing which people do not think of you to be lowly. Wear that type of clothing which people don't think for you to be a low-class person like on the streets. Okay? Wear moderate type clothing. And then on the other hand, he says, وَلَا يَعِيبُكَ بِهِ الْحُكَمَاء. Nor the wise people will find fault in you. Meaning, if you were to wear such clothing that is clothing of fame, then it will bring you an attention which the wise people will look down on you, in the sense that you are intentionally bringing fame to yourself. So this type of clothing also is looked down upon in our Sharia. So you mustn't wear such level of clothing which other people think low of you, nor should you wear such clothing which everyone starts thinking you're bringing attention to yourself. So both of these two are against the hadith and against the actions of the Sahaba. He asked, what is that? And then he gave an example. He said it is between 5 dirhams and approximately 20 dirhams. Nowadays, of course, it will differ according to our time and age. But he gave an approximate at his time, okay, an average of his time. So for example, if you think a normal decent quality t-shirt, normal decent quality shirt, normal decent quality suit will do the job, then that's it. You don't need to go for £1,000 tailor-made suit. There's no necessity there. Okay. وعن ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما يرفعه قال من لبس ثوب شهرة ألبسه الله إياه يوم القيامة ثم ألهب فيه النار ومن تشبه بقوم فهو منهم. Subhanallah. Here Ibn Umar رضي الله عنه, he says مرفوعا from Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, whoever wears the clothing of fame, whoever wears the clothing of fame here is referring to clothing which you wear to impress others. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make you wear on the day of judgment the clothing of fire. Why? Because this is completely against the dictates of our Sharia. Okay? To go and impress others and make others feel like they have nothing. Okay? This is against the dictates of our Sharia. ثم ألهب فيه النار, then he will be thrown inside the fire. ومن تشبه بقوم فهو منهم. This part of the hadith is the most important hadith. Whoever resembles a people, a type of people, you will be from amongst them. You dress like a certain people, you will be resurrected amongst them. You like the things which a certain people do, this is the type of people you'll be resurrected amongst them. If you have the habit of going and listening to music, some people will be dying reciting the lyrics of those rappers and those musicians. Okay? It's very dangerous. Very dangerous. So whatever you associate, whoever you accompany is the most important thing. And here, وَمَنْ تَشَبِّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ, specifically towards clothing, specifically towards the type of clothing you wear. If you wear and those clothings which are resembling a certain rapper, any bad person, any celebrity, and it's for that intention, then of course this is extremely looked down upon, because you're resembling a people whom your haya, your everything does not meet, your criteria of Sharia does not meet. Again, I said another thing about impressing. Impressing, to some people, it might be that one type of clothing is not as, exclusive to himself. He might wear such clothing which he doesn't feel it's a clothing of fame or name. To him, it's a normal thing. So to some people, it may bring arrogance inside them. To some people, it may not. So it also differs from person to person. But of course, here we are talking about average clothing. Average clothing. Here now we'll go on to the next chapter, which is giving garments to the poor. عن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول ما من مسلم كسى مسلما ثوبا إلا كان في حفظ الله ما دام عليه منه خرقة رواه الترمذي والحاكم كلاهما. Then the hadith carries on. ولفظ الحاكم سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من كسى مسلما ثوبا لم يزل في ستر الله ما دام عليه منه خيط أو سلك. Subhanallah. Here, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu narrates, he heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam say, there is no Muslim that gives clothing to another Muslim except that the person, the giver is in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as long as that clothing is on the other person. Meaning, as many years as that person wears that clothes, you will be rewarded for that person having that garment. This is why our sasas, our uncles, our dadas, our nanas used to give us clothing instead of money. Nowadays, unfortunately, they give money on Eid. And they go and spend the money on sweets and all of this stuff. And they waste their money. It's not even good for their health. Okay? So, what would be better is fulfilling the sunnah of Rasulullah and giving garments to whoever, Here, the condition isn't poor. Here, the condition is just a Muslim, giving to any Muslim. It can be your nephew, it can be your brother, it can be anyone. Whoever you give a garment of clothing, automatically you are in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until the person probably gives it to charity or probably throws it away. And the next, the hadith that's similar to this, in the narration of Hakim, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu says, he heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Man kasa musliman thawban, lam yazal fi satrillah. The person who gives the garment to another person, he stays in the, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps him veiled. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps this person veiled of his sins to others. Ma dama alayhi minhu khaytun aw silkun. As long as the other person is wearing the clothing, even if it may be a thread. Even if it may be a thread of that cloth that he's using. So, it is of great, great, great reward for you to give clothing to another person. عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أيما مسلم كسى مسلما ثوبا على عرى كساه الله من خضر الجنة. الله أكبر. Here, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, one of the other Sahabas, he narrates from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying, whichever Muslim gives another Muslim clothing, here specifically it's out of poverty, out of nakedness. The literal meaning is out of nakedness. Meaning a person can't clothe himself, and in that situation, you give it to a poor person. The other one was a clear, general hadith. Any Muslim, you gift clothing to any Muslim. Here, this is specifically to poor people. If you give clothes to poor people, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make you wear from the green silk that's specifically kept for you in Jannah. Green silk clothing, that garment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept specifically in Jannah. وَأَيُّمَا مُسْلِمٍ أَطْعَمَ مُسْلِمًا عَلَى جُوعٍ أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ مِنْ ثِمَارِ الْجَنَّةِ. Whichever Muslim gives food to another hungry Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will feed him from the fruits of paradise, from the desert of paradise. As we like to understand it, like from the deserts of paradise. You want rivers of chocolates, you can get rivers of chocolates. وَأَيُّمَا مُسْلِمٍ سَقَى مُسْلِمًا عَلَى ظَمَئٍ سَقَاهُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ مِنَ الرَّحِيقِ الْمَخْتُومِ. And whichever Muslim gives drink to another Muslim who is thirsty, This refers to specifically Muslim as well as animals, anything that has life. But here specifically a Muslim. Whichever Muslim gives water or gives drink to a person who is thirsty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him drink from the springs from Rahiqul Makhtum refers to a spring from Jannatul Firdaus. The roots come from Jannatul Firdaus and it comes out. So this Rahiqul Makhtum is referring to the sealed nectar, specific spring that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for the Jannatis, that the Jannatis will be drinking. Giving drink, giving food, giving clothing to the poor, and not just to the poor, generally as well, as we done the first hadith, is extremely important, and it's something which is super encouraged in our Sharia, as we can see from the hadiths. You want Jannah, you want the fruits of Jannah, you want the clothing of Jannah, you want the pure silk garments of Jannah, you want to drink from Rahiqul Makhtum, the fountain of paradise, then you do these small actions. It doesn't cost much. Giving a bottle of water, giving a bottle of drink to a child, anyone on the street, even a homeless person. It doesn't need to be a Muslim. As long as he's got life, even an animal which is starving or an animal which is thirsty, it will get you the reward. If you have this right intention, you'll get the reward. Okay, these hadith are referring to, the next chapter is referring to leaving gray hair at old age and not to pluck them. A lot of people, when they get gray hair, they want to pluck those gray ones because it makes them feel they're older. This is against the sunnah of Rasulullah. وعن عمرو بن شعيب عن أبيه عن جده قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تنفتوا الشيبة فإنه ما من مسلم يشيب شيبة في الإسلام إلا كانت له نورا يوم القيامة وفي رواية كتب الله له بها حسنة وحط عنه بها خطيئة رواه أبو داود والنسائي وابن ماجه. Here the hadith Rasulullah says, don't pluck out the gray hairs. Don't pluck out the white hairs. For verily, there is no Muslim that turns into his old age and he turns gray, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make these strands of hair, these gray hairs, into light for you on the day of judgment. Subhanallah. And also it mentions here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will write for every single gray hair a good deed and will minus for you a sin. Okay, for each and every single gray hair, you get a reward. But that doesn't mean a person, like for example, the father of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was brought to Rasulullah to accept Islam. He accepted Islam, Abu Quhafa. And his beard was completely white. It was completely white. Huge beard, completely white. Rasulullah said, go and dye his hair. Go and dye his beard and hair. So he looks a bit more youthful, So dyeing the hair is also another sunnah. You could do it brown, you could do it dark brown, you could which nowadays they do it dark navy. It looks very, very similar to black, which is jais. It's not haram. Haram is only black, pitch black. That's that which is prohibited in hadith. Like the hadiths are coming there in the next chapter. But you shouldn't take out your white hairs. Whether it's on the hair, whether it's here, whichever place, you shouldn't take out, because they will be a nur for you on the day of judgment. This is like a proof for your Islam. You turning from black beard to white beard is a proof of your steadfastness on Islam. For you staying on Islam for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. This is a proof for you on the day of judgment, on Qiyamah, for you to be a nur when you need it the most, when you need to cross the bridge, Pulsirat. When you need to cross the bridge over Jahannam to go into Jannah, this nur, this white beard will be your nur to glow up, your lantern that you need the most. And then he brings a verse of the Quran that a nur will be in front of them and behind them. And here, some of the ulama, they have the interpretation that this might be the beard, the white beard, as well as the gray hairs that a person had in his old age when he turned as a Muslim. He turned old as a Muslim. وعن فضالة بن عبيد رضي الله عنه قال أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من شاب شيبة في الإسلام كانت له نورا يوم القيامة فقال له رجل عند ذلك فإن رجالا ينتفون الشيب فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من شاء فلينتف نوره. سبحان الله. رواه البزار والطبراني في الكبير. Here Rasulullah rebukes a person. Rasulullah rebukes a person for taking out the white hairs, the gray hairs. Here he says, whoever wishes to pluck out his nur, let him do so. Meaning it's a warning that you shouldn't do it, that you shouldn't take out the white hairs or the gray hairs intentionally. The next one, وعن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه قال كان يكره أن ينتف الرجل الشعرة البيضاء من رأسه ولحيته. رواه مسلم. So here it makes it clear that it's not just from the beard, it's also from the hair. Okay, it is makruh to pluck out white hair from your hair and your beard, both. And the next hadith is very similar. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا تنتفوا الشيب. Don't pluck your white hair, for indeed it will be a nur on the day of judgment. These hairs will be nur on the day of judgment for you. Man shaba shaybatan fil islami kataballahu lahu biha hasana. For every person that turns gray in Islam, meaning from a young person to an old person, he turns in Islam, that person, for every single hair strand, he will get hasanat, he will get rewards. His sins will be forgiven, as well as ranks will be, higher stages will be given to him in Jannah because of him turning white in whilst he is in Islam. And the last hadith that I wanted to give for today is the black dye. Black dye is haram. Black dye is makruh tahriman. Okay, makruh tahriman is haram practically. عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يكون قوم يخضبون في آخر الزمان بالسواد. Subhanallah. This is a sign of the day of judgment, that the final hour will come when people will be dyeing their beards and their hair black. Beards and their hair black. This is from the signs of the hour, from the signs of the day of judgment. كحواصل الحمام لا يريحون رائحة الجنة. Like the stomachs of doves. Stomachs of doves are extremely black, pitch black. These people, they will never smell the fragrance of Jannah. This is a great warning, severe warning for people who dye their beard and their hair black. Black is not allowed, all other colors are allowed. You want to do it brown, brown is allowed. Mendi is the best. Rasulullah used to do mendi. Mendi dye is the best dye. Of course, be careful of what's inside the mendi. Nowadays, it's very risky, but you have to be careful of the ingredients that are put inside the mendi as well. But inshallah, if you do, the mendi dye is the best. If you can't do the mendi dye, then do any other dye, but keep yourself youthful. It will give you vigor in practicing the deen as well. Okay, and it is also the sunnah of the Sahaba and the sunnah of Rasulullah. So you can dye your hair as long as it's not black. Okay, we don't want to be from those who don't smell the fragrance of Jannah. We want to be the opposite. We want to smell the fragrance of Jannah before we leave this world, isn't it? Shuhada, Palestine, they're telling us mosque is coming out, one after the other, one after the other. So many, how many Shuhada? Mosque is coming out. So inshallah, if Allah wants to show you in this world as well, He can show you in this world. That the perfume of Jannah is, before you leave this world, Allah will show you. Inshallah, we'll stop here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Let's give the adhan, inshallah.